Hi everyone, my name is Joseph and today I want to discuss Renfield, a movie starring Nicolas Cage. Before I begin, just a quick FYI, I am getting over a cold, so I'm speaking a bit more slowly or differently. That's the reason why. And also, this might be a bit of a shorter video compared to my other ones because, again, my cold is affecting me a little bit. But with that being said, Renfield is a movie that released on April 14th, 2023, and it stars, as I already stated, Nicolas Cage as Dracula, but also Nicholas Hoult as R.M. Renfield, Aquafina as Rebecca Quincy, Ben Schwartz as Teddy Lodo, Lodo, Teddy Lobo. Obviously, I said the Teddy and then the B, and then I switched out the B with the D. Anyways, again, Ben Schwartz as Teddy Lobo, and other characters as well. I have to say, this was a movie that when I first saw the trailers for, I really did want to check it out. Unfortunately, when it did release, none of my friends wanted to watch it. And I meant to go watch it on my own, but I'm not really one to watch movies at the theaters anyway, so it kind of slipped my mind. And I was thinking about it recently, and so I made the choice to seek it out and to go ahead and watch it. And I'm glad that I did. This is actually a really great movie that I enjoyed very much so. So right off the bat, do I recommend this movie? Yes, I do. With that being said, though, one watches other reviewers about this movie. They might discover that other people explain that it seems like this has two movies put into one. And I could definitely see that perspective because the first time I was watching it, Ben Schwartz's character and Aquafina's character, I really don't think they needed to be present for the overall plot. With that being said, I think for the minor connections they made, with minor relationships, I think it made the overall plot more not engaging but more fun to interact with. I do agree that the first half of the movie is very much more a horror centric, not scary, but a little bit gory. And then the second half of the movie is much more of a buddy cop kind of genre. And if one is not really familiar with that, they may not enjoy it as much. I myself am not usually a fan of comedies and cop buddies. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that genre correctly, but hopefully you guys know what I'm referring to cop buddy genres. But in this instance, I was fine with it because I liked the relationship that was set up between Rainfield's character and Aquafina's character. Now, before I continue, one thing I have to state: usually I don't like to be negative. But when it comes to Aquafina's character, I do wish that Hollywood or the right producers for this movie, whoever was in charge of casting, went with someone. Well, not Aquafina essentially. I know that when this movie was coming out, releasing, Aquafina was kind of appearing in a lot of properties as well. Things like BoJack Horseman, this movie, and other movies, other shows, movies too. Like Shang-Chi, excuse me, but the Rings of Power, the Marvel movie, and so forth, right? I'm not saying that Aquafina is a bad actress, but I definitely think when she's put up against Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult, one is able to see that her acting is not quite up to the same caliber. And I don't mean that to be offensive. Again, I think her acting is fine and it is passable. But when she's put up against these other individuals whose acting is just a little bit more refined and tempered, again, it does stand out. So because of that, I also felt at times that Aquafina's character was just a little bit out of cast, a little bit. Sorry, I don't like how we stated that twice, but I don't like how she felt out of cast because although I did like her character's relationship with Renfield, I just felt like Renfield's character wouldn't fall in, or maybe not fall in love, that's not the correct word, but wouldn't become admired with a woman like Aquafina. Essentially, I felt like he would fall for more like a librarian type of woman. And if one watches, well, Aquafina plays a cop character, which makes sense for the service of the story. But that also affects the way that she dresses as well. So that's just what I mean. Because when Aquafina not spies, but when she interacts with Nicholas Holt's character Renfield, he has a tendency to be wearing different kinds of outfits. And again, those outfits I think is indicative for me that he will be attracted to like a well-read kind of individual, right? Someone who's shown that they interact with literature here and there. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I don't sound like I'm being rude. I feel like I'm not making my point quite clear. Again, as a quick reminder, I am under a code, so my brain capacity is not at the 100%. But again, despite that, it was still an enjoyable movie. Ben Schwartz, I think, does a good job with his character to his mom, the character of his he's basically almost like a mama's boy. I do have to say, so pardon me if I mispronounced your name. Sorora, I would Aghdashlloo. One has seen The Expanse or has played Mass Effect and they're familiar with this actress. but she played Bella Francesca Lobo, the mom of Ben Schwartz, and they both did a really fine job of just of ridiculousness and in regards to working with Dracula. Yeah, so all in all, if one goes into this movie expecting a lot of killing, they're going to get that, but also one does need to be aware that it's also going to have elements of a buddy cop movie. And would that turn you off? I think it will be dependent on if you're a fan of those genres to begin with. Again, I'm neutral towards it. As long as it's done okay, fine, then I'm going to be fine with it. But if it's done in a cheesy kind of way, then I wouldn't have been fine with it. And I think in this movie, it's done in such a way that it at least enhances the relationship of the characters. Again, I want to reiterate that this mafia story, this mob story, I don't think it enhances Dracula's main story overall, but it does allow for these interactions between the characters, and because of these interactions, it allows the main story of Dracula to become a bit more entertaining. So again, it doesn't affect it overall plot wise. It at least interjects some entertainment into the main story. But again, with that being said, I really don't think the main story needed that kind of interjection. The main story was really interesting on its own, and I think they being the writers did a fine job of, excuse me everyone, my nose is feeling a little bit ready, and I think they did a fine job of setting up the beginning of the movie and showing us how we went from the 18th, 17th, 19th, 18th century, whatever it was, when Dracula was first around and got these services of Renfield, and going up to modern time. And also, with that being said, usually I'm like neutral about cinematography. I'm always a bigger fan of narration and dialogue and character arcs when it comes to movies and television. But with that being said, when there's something with really great cinematography, even I do notice it. And I really love the detail about how Renfield's character, before he starts living for himself, the color palette's very much dim, muted, and diminished. But then once he starts living for himself, and even his outfit changes. He I'm not gonna lie, I like the way he dressed when he was working with Dracula, but when he starts dressing for himself, it's much more like a Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood kind of style, but adapted for a younger individual. And once he starts dressing in a more lighter manner, the color palette for the cinematography changes as well. I really did enjoy that. I thought that was quite cool. So have you guys seen this movie? If you have seen it, were you disappointed with it? I'm not gonna lie, after watching this, I was really much in a Nicolas Cage, kind of like, woo, let's keep on going. So I did start The Unbearable Weight of Being Nicolas Cage. And unfortunately, I have to say, it didn't quite hold my attention the same way that Renfield did. I didn't finish the latter movie, and I think that's a testament. When I first started Renfield, I actually was planning on having it in the background while I did other things, such as playing video games. But it caught my attention to the point where I actually decided to give it all my attention and just not do anything else. Again, with The Unbearable Weight of Being Nicolas Cage, I just didn't get that same reaction. But that's neither here or there. If I do finish that movie, I'll for sure make a review for that. So to reiterate, do I recommend Renfield? Yes, I wholeheartedly do. Even though there's two genres that get mismatched together, I think it does a serviceable job of making these interactions between the characters stand out. And I couldn't imagine this movie without Bella Francesca having a silly conversation with Dracula, with Ben Schwartz deciding to work with Dracula. Excuse me, everyone, and thus becoming a rival or nemesis towards Renfield's character. So if you guys have seen this movie, please do let me know what your thoughts and opinions on it. And again, pardon me and thank you for your patience in regards to my demeanor, my behavior. I know I'm not at 100%, but I do thank you for watching / listening and just for joining me. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.